Welcome to Behind the Business on the Boise Beat, where we dive into the heart of entrepreneurship and uncover the stories behind the businesses that shape our community. I'm your host, Gordie Tamayo, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Art Robinson, the visionary behind Wepa Café. Nestled in the streets of Garden City, Wepa Café is a culinary gem that transports visitors straight to Puerto Rico with its authentic flavors and lively atmosphere. As Wepa Café gears up to celebrate its third anniversary with a weekend full of culture and cuisine, Art is here to share with us the journey of bringing Puerto Rican passion to the Treasure Valley and how he's making a difference both locally and back on the island. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Behind the Business on the Boise Beat. Today we are joined by none other than Art Robinson. He is the founder and owner of Wepa Café. Art, how you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing awesome. For those that don't know, by the way, can you elaborate on what Wepa is and how it's
Sure.
used in
So,
Puerto Rican culture?
absolutely. Wepa is a shout of joy or celebration. So, when you're having a great time, you shout Wepa. So,
Yeah,
we encourage people to do that in a restaurant all the time.
that's awesome. Yeah. So, Art, appreciate you jumping on board with me today. I really wanted to talk about, this establishment that you got, kind of the inception of it, where you're at currently today, and then, some other announcements that you had on deck that I definitely want to make sure we share with people. But if you could share about the inception of this cafe. I know you're coming on a couple years since you launched it, but what was really the inspiration behind opening up this spot?
Yeah, we're coming up on our 3-year anniversary here for the brick and mortar, but the conception of Wepa started in May of 2018.
Okay.
I had been in the corporate world for almost 25 years and sort of hit my midlife crisis and said, you know what, I want to do something completely different.
Hmm.
And I want to bring some of the taste and culture and flavors that I grew up with to Idaho and Treasure Valley. And that was
Awesome.
the beginning of it. And then ran a food truck operation, pop up tents for a couple of years, just kind of getting our name out while we were looking for the perfect space here in Garden City.
Wow, that's great. The pop-up spot that you had or you were running with the truck, was that here locally too in Boise?
Yeah, yeah. So we were spending a lot of time doing the local breweries, some of the farmers markets, special events, catering, all that kind of stuff.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that jump from, operating a food truck to a physical establishment, spot that people can just come and dine into. Um, how hard of a jump was that, or how hard of a transition would you say that was?
It was always the idea to have the brick and mortar, and it just took us that long just to find the right spot.
Mm,
People ask me how I found it. Honestly, I tell them I think it found me.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yes, our spot in Garden City is perfect. Obviously, the area around us is growing, and everybody knows what's going on here in this area.
Hmm.
And so those 2 years were really just about sampling and marketing and getting the word out.
Mm,
So the transition was actually kind of easy from that standpoint. Because this was always the goal was to have this great spot where people could come in, and as soon as you walk through the doors, you're getting the smells, you're getting the sounds, and before we even fed you, hopefully you're getting a feel for being on the island and what that feels like.
yeah, that's cool. You mentioned you came from the corporate sector and dove into this spot once you hit a certain spot in your life. What did you do, if you don't mind me asking, in the corporate world prior to
Yeah,
opening up the
I was
cafe?
in sales and category management in the grocery industry. Worked for a couple of the chain stores, and then also worked for companies that called on them. But that was basically my life for most of my career.
Gotcha. Yeah. Is this kind of is it awkward jumping from, the corporate sector and now doing, this as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I guess awkward is a good word. It's certainly different, but my time in the corporate world, served its purpose in chapters of my life, and it was great. But it was definitely time to do something different and get my entrepreneurial spirit going, and
Hmm.
I love it. This
Yeah.
is I love walking through these doors and this being my place and making sure that I'm responsible for my guests and of course my team and my staff and making sure that everybody's happy and content and for our
Hmm.
customers being well fed.
Yeah. No, that's great. Let's talk about that. About, you coming into the spot. opening those doors and being able to smell the rich flavors that are known for Puerto Rican dishes. Like, what kind of influences would you say from Puerto Rican culture, or your mother, I believe, because she's Puerto Rican, you had mentioned,
Mhm.
would you say influence the menu that you currently have, or how did you come about establishing the current menu that you got?
Yeah, well, Puerto Rican food is basically comes from three different places: the Spanish, the Taino Indian, which is a native Indian in the Caribbean, and then African from slave trade back in the 15, 1600s. So you bring those three together, and that's what creates the Puerto Rican flavors. It's garlic, it's cilantro, rice, beans, plantains, all that. What influenced me, I think it's just the food that I grew up in. And then I go down to the island at least every couple of years, if not less, and just always looking for new ideas and new food items, and just bringing, like I said, bringing that all here to Treasure Valley. So that's really the influence. It's just everything that I grew up on as a kid, and
Yeah,
into my adulthood as well.
nice. What's one of your favorite dishes, Puerto Rican
I
dishes?
get I get asked that all the time. I said, most of these recipes are mine, so it's like asking me who my favorite child is. Um, arroz con pollo is just a comfort food. My grandmother made it, pretty much every weekend.
Hmm.
So that just brings me back from a memory standpoint. We do a pernil, which is a roast pork shoulder, and that's probably one of our signature dishes as well. And just the flavors, the smells, the intensity of it all just always brings me home.
Yeah, that's great. Speaking of the third anniversary that you had mentioned here of being in operation here in this location here, my understanding is that you got kind of a full weekend of events that are kind of planned within that weekend as a big celebration for you guys. Um, Tell me a little bit more about kind of what's planned for the anniversary, and how these events kind of reflect the spirit of Wepa.
Yeah, this is our first year of actually doing a full weekend. Traditionally, we've only done one
Okay.
day, but we said, hey, why not? Let's expand it. So next Friday on the 20th, we're closing down our parking lot, and we'll have it closed down for all 3 days. Friday night, we're bringing in a DJ who's it's just gonna be a Latin dance party. It'll be our regular menu. We're encouraging people to make reservations, but that's just going to be sort of just our kickoff, right? Let's get this
Yeah.
party started right with the sounds of the Caribbean. Saturday is really what I would say is our main event. It's what we've traditionally done, and this is where we actually we're going to be roasting a couple of pigs in Puerto Rico. That's called lechon.
Nice.
So that is a very traditional food item. I would love to do it all the time, but
Uh-huh.
a little harder to pull off. So at least once a year,
Uh-huh.
we bring in the pigs. We do a full buffet of traditional foods: arroz con gandules, we're doing yuca, we'll be doing pinchos, which are skewers, a whole variety of food. We do bring in a DJ who plays Latin music, but then on top of that, we're bringing in Onyx Dance Studios, and they're going to be doing some dance lessons at the top of the hour every hour from 4 to 8. And we've done that in the past, and it's been a blast where people just learn, just some basic moves of salsa, merengue,
Hmm.
bachata, and we just again, it's a huge party. And then Sunday, we're for the first time ever doing a Latin hip hop brunch. We're bringing in DJ Rakim. He's going to be doing a reggaeton and some other items.
Nice.
Again, a brunch buffet, but the whole emphasis is for it to be one giant dance party. And then on top of all that, all weekend long, and this is really what we do on our anniversary as well as the rest of the year, is we're raising funds for our nonprofit partner in Puerto Rico called ProTechos.
Hmm.
And what they do is they are build roofs and teach people how to build roofs down there, serving or focusing on underserved communities, the poor, the elderly. And hard to believe, but Hurricane Maria is now just about in 2017. So
Hmm.
6 years, 7 years, can't do the math.
Yeah.
7 years ago this month, and they are still building and repairing roofs from that
Oh,
time.
really? Wow.
So we raise funds throughout the year for
Hmm.
them. We donate part of our profits, and then customers can add on to their checks right on their handhelds
Hmm.
and donate. And this is our biggest event of the year, where we'll have raffles. We've got a lot of our vendor partners, especially our wine and beer partners, who are donating some great products. So people can enter raffles to win prizes, and then all of those proceeds go directly to the charity as well. So that's
Yeah.
a big part of the weekend as well.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a big weekend.
It is. It'll be.
Yeah.
It always is our biggest weekend of the year, and we take a couple days off afterwards to rest up.
Yeah, yeah, you need it after an event planning of 3 days straight,
Exactly.
roasting the pig in the process there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, good stuff. I was gonna ask you a little bit more about ProTechos because I did see that you guys had been partnering with them. Have you been partnering with them since the inception of Wepa, or?
Yeah. When I first in like I said 2018, and I got this sort of epiphany of I really want to do this. The first tagline I came up with, which we still have, is authentic Puerto Rican cuisine with a social conscience.
Mm,
I had been
okay.
down in Puerto Rico right after Hurricane Maria in December of that year, saw some of what had happened, firsthand. Luckily, my family, obviously everyone was affected, but they didn't lose their homes or anything like that. But
Uh-huh.
just when I saw that, how do I find out some way to give back, as small as it may be?
Sure.
So that was always part of the business plan, and finding the right partner. And again, it took me a couple of years to do that. So by the time we opened the brick and mortar, that's when we signed up and started collaborating with ProTechos. And they're an amazing organization. I was actually down in Puerto Rico in March this year. That's the
Mm,
first time I actually got to see what they do and go to some of the houses that they've been working on, and
yeah,
just really doing some incredible work
yeah,
for people who really desperately need it. So.
yeah. Well, that's pretty cool that, you're obviously doing something with food, but like you said, there's a social consciousness piece of this that,
Mhm.
you're able to tap into as well, so it seems like it's much more of a purposeful thing than simply dishes, which
Exactly.
ties into, another thought that I have around, the connection that you have even locally here with the community in the Treasure Valley. Um, you already outlined a couple of ways that you're establishing connection within the community, such as, this anniversary event and whatnot. But what else would you say has kind of been, one of the ways that WEPA has fostered connection in the community and the importance of doing that with the local community, especially in the food industry?
It's funny. One of the things that we did, and I can't say it was on purpose to start with, but now it's evolved into it, and I'm incredibly proud of it. Is all of our beer and wine is local.
Oh, wow.
Obviously,
Okay.
I worked with all the breweries, so when the time came to open my place, I certainly wanted to give back to those folks who had supported me during that time. And
Hmm.
then when I started building the wine list, I kind of always was hoping to kind of sort of keep it Idaho.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a couple of friends who were helping me develop the list. We go out and do the wine tastings, and of course we started right here in the neighborhood. And the next thing I knew, all of our wines are actually from Garden City,
Oh, really?
which is awesome. And people do enjoy the fact that it's all local, and so that's our way of supporting our local community. Um, the time I spent with in the food truck industry, I made some great friends, and it's always amazing to me how supportive the restaurant industry is of each other.
Mm,
Everybody's checking in on each other. Everybody's supporting each other. Hey, how is things going?
yeah.
During COVID, we were still doing the pop-ups. Of course, that shut down. So I pivoted to online catering,
Mm,
and that whole community just came together, and we were all just sort of boosting each other up, and that's continued on since then. And so to me, that's a huge part of this as well.
yeah.
Again, didn't necessarily expect it.
Sure.
Corporate world's a little more cutthroat, for lack of a
Hmm.
better term,
Yeah.
where you're always after your competition. And here, yeah, I don't look at other restaurants as competition. I look at them as sort of raising the whole roof and bringing the whole Treasure Valley food scene has exploded, and we're just happy to and proud to be a part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful insight and perspective too, I would say. Especially in an industry like this where, you're bound to see some ups and downs, right? You're bound to see seasonal influxes and changes that occur within the industry and whatnot. Um, reminds me that this is no small feat what you've done up to date. Establishing a restaurant going on 3 years now. What would you say has been some of the biggest challenges that you've faced of propping Wepa Cafe up, and alongside of that, what would you say has been some of the most rewarding parts of this process?
I'd say the challenges, honestly, they're happening right now. The restaurant industry, and especially everywhere, but here in the valley, is hurting.
Mhm.
And again, folks, the economics and everything that's going on, folks are having a harder time uh, being able to go out as often as they were before. And
Mhm.
we just want to be relevant for those who can go out. We want to make sure that, again, support local. That's always been our big thing, and keeping ourselves relevant and trying to change items up and making sure that we're providing something that's different. We're the only brick and mortar Puerto Rican restaurant in the state, so
Yeah.
we want to make sure that we're staying relevant and on people's radars. That's probably been the most challenging thing this year, more than
Yeah.
so than in the past. The rewarding part is just the happy faces, the reviews we get. I've had people who walk in and say, "Hey, it's my grandmother in the kitchen. That's taking
Mm.
me home."
Wow.
People who've grown up on the island or or New York, where I'm from. Um, you get comments like that, and there's nothing better in the world. Um, that's that, and when we get comments about our service and having amazing staff, and when the food, obviously that has to take care of itself, and that's going to
Sure.
always drive it. But when we get reviews, and especially if they take the time to name somebody by name,
Mhm.
that's awesome. That's the best feeling that we've given you an hour or two of happiness, and we did it by providing great food and great service. And so
Yeah.
those are the things that will always bring a smile to my face.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, there is something special with being able to serve people with food and creating experiences with that, memories, and you're part of that process there. So that's awesome. Looking ahead for Wepa Cafe, what would you say are some maybe the long-term goals that you have for the cafe? Is there, new menu items that you're exploring or potentially thinking about putting on deck? Um, Events, expansions, like what's on the dream list for Wepa?
Obviously, always looking at expanding the menu and keeping it, like I said, relevant. There's the core items are the core; those will never change. We do
Mhm.
specials pretty much every weekend,
Okay.
and we have a rotation of those, and we bring out new things once in a while, and then we try to sort of track it. And if the specials are bringing enough in, then all of a sudden they make it to the menu. We've done that with probably 5 or 6 items.
Hmm.
Um, so always trying to do that. We've got our rooftop patio and our outdoor patio, and we've done every year we do something. We added misters this year, canopies, tarps, anything that makes it more comfortable for
Yeah.
everybody, especially with all the changes in the weather that we have.
Mhm.
Looking at maybe doing some remodeling inside again, just to try and keep it fresh and relevant. It's been 3 years, and we love the look, and we get a lot of comments on the look as soon as people walk in. But just what's next, and then
Mhm.
always looking for partnership opportunities or just ways to get the name and the flavors out even more. We Latino Fest obviously just took place a couple of weeks ago. We unfortunately weren't able to put together the right staff to do food, but we just went down there and had an information booth and
Mhm.
talking about our anniversary party and just bringing that experience, and that alone was a great time of just getting the word out. Oh,
Yeah.
we didn't know you were here. Oh, we had no idea there was Puerto Rican food. Here
Mhm.
I hear that on pretty much a daily basis. So when we get to the point where we don't hear that anymore, then I'll know we've done a really really good job. So
Yeah. No, it's all good. You still got more people to tap into here.
absolutely.
Yeah, because even though 3 years in the making, like, there's new people coming in all the time and
Mhm.
things change a lot, right? Different options. So you're getting there. You're working your way there. As a maybe final word of inspiration for somebody that is in the industry, because you sound like somebody who doesn't mind sharing the knowledge and uplifting one another. What would you say to somebody that's either looking to start, their own business in this particular industry, or maybe they're in it already and they're in a tough spot? Like, what kind of insight or inspiration would you say to them right now?
You obviously have to build a solid foundation of a plan, and that's where the business side of my experience, came in. Was getting that element down, but I've been blessed with just an incredible network, here locally, and then family and friends in Puerto Rico and New York and other areas that have helped me along the way. And definitely use that network, find that network.
Yeah.
I could be part of that network, but you can't do it alone. I think
Yeah.
is the thing. You need to have perspective and other ideas, and I'm constantly tapping into experts. I've been in this business now for, if you count the food truck, a total of 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've got people who have been 20, 30 years, and that experience means a lot to me, and their sharing of those insights. So seek out those people and that support. That's been the biggest part of my success is having the right folks around you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great insight. Definitely got to surround yourself with the right folks for sure. Well, Art, it's been a pleasure to have you on deck here with me behind the business over on the Boise Beat. Where can people find you at online, by the way, if they want to check you out, social or your website, etc.?
Sure. Our website is wepaprcuisine.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. We post almost a daily basis. If you're interested in tickets for next weekend, you can go to our Facebook event page or to Eventbrite. That's where the tickets are sold. Like I said, Friday is a free event, and Saturday and Sunday are ticketed. So we'd like to get those pre-sold as much as possible. We will accept walk-ins as long as we've got space.
Yep.
But if you're interested, I would say go grab those tickets soon, because we're 7 days away. So those tickets will be going fast.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll put a link to the description or a link below in the write-up here of where people can get tickets as well. But Art, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you for joining me so much. As a closeout, can I get a final Wepa?
Absolutely. Wepa!